He won a deserted spaceship, but an alien stowaway claimed him as her mate. Jack Miller wiped the sweat from his brow as he stared at his computer screen. The balance in his bank account showed just enough to cover this month's rent for his small workshop, with barely anything left for food. At 32, this wasn't where he had imagined his life would be. A gifted mechanic who could fix almost anything with an engine, Jack had dreams of opening his own garage someday. But the economic downturn had hit their small town hard, and work had been scarce. His eyes drifted to the unusual advertisement that had popped up on his screen. Salvage auction, experimental spacecraft. Damaged but recoverable. Bidding starts at $5,000. Jack clicked on the listing, curiosity getting the better of him. The photos showed what looked like a sleek silver pod, about the size of a small bus. Its surface was unmarked by any company logo or government insignia. There was something odd about its design, curves in places where Earth vehicles typically had straight edges, and materials that reflected light in ways he'd never seen before. This has to be fake, Jack muttered to himself, but he couldn't look away. If it was real, the technology inside could be worth a fortune. Even if it was just an elaborate movie prop, the metals alone might be worth more than the asking price. He scrolled down to read the description: experimental craft recovered from remote crash site. Origin classified. Sold as is. No returns. Buyer responsible for transportation from secure facility. Warning: contents under pressure. Do not attempt to open without proper tools. Jack picked up his phone and called his friend Mike, who worked at the local junkyard. "Hey, you gotta see this listing I found," Jack said when Mike answered. "Some kind of experimental spacecraft up for auction." "Sounds like a scam," Mike replied after Jack described the listing. "Nobody sells real spacecraft online, man. And if they did, why would it be so cheap? Something's not right." "Yeah, probably," Jack agreed. "But what if it's not? What if some government contractor is trying to quietly get rid of a failed project? The parts alone could set me up for years. Or land you in prison for possession of stolen government property," Mike countered. "Don't do anything stupid, Jack." But Jack couldn't stop thinking about the spacecraft. That night, he tossed and turned in bed, his mind racing with possibilities. By morning, he had made his decision. He would place a small bid, just enough to be in the running, but not enough to clean out his savings. When he checked the auction site again, there were still no other bidders. With trembling fingers, he entered $5,100 and clicked Submit Bid. To his surprise, a message immediately flashed across his screen: "Congratulations. Your bid has been accepted. Auction closed." Before he could process what had happened, his phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello, Mr. Miller," a monotone voice said. "This is regarding your recent purchase. Please confirm your delivery address for the item." "Wait, I thought this was an auction," Jack said, confused. "How did it end so quickly?" "The seller has accepted your bid as meeting the reserve price," the voice explained. "Payment has been processed from your account. Delivery will occur within 24 hours. But, Jack began, but the line had already gone dead. He quickly checked his bank account. To his horror, $5,100 had indeed been withdrawn. His savings were almost completely gone. The next morning, Jack was awakened by the sound of a heavy truck pulling up outside his workshop. Two men in unmarked gray uniforms unloaded a large container and left without saying a word, despite Jack's questions. The container held exactly what had been pictured: a silver, pod-like craft about 20 feet long. Up close, it was even stranger than in the photos. The metal had an almost liquid quality to it, and there were no visible seams or rivets. A small panel on one side appeared to be a door, but there was no obvious way to open it. Jack spent the entire day examining the craft, looking for any company markings or serial numbers. He found nothing except a small symbol etched near what he assumed was the front, a series of interconnected circles that resembled no logo he recognized. As the sun began to set, Jack decided it was time to try opening the craft. He located what looked like a control panel and gently pressed his hand against it. To his surprise, it lit up with strange symbols. "What the hell?" he whispered. He pressed a large button in the center of the panel. A hissing sound filled the workshop as the door began to slide open, releasing a cloud of cold vapor. Jack stepped back, suddenly afraid. The listing had warned not to open the craft without proper tools. What if there were hazardous materials inside? But curiosity overcame caution. As the vapor cleared, Jack peered inside. The interior glowed with soft blue light. It looked like a cockpit of some kind, but the design was like nothing he had ever seen before. The seats weren't shaped for a human body, and the controls had no labels he could read. As he leaned in for a closer look, he noticed something at the back of the craft, a chamber with frosted glass walls. Through the mist, he could make out a humanoid shape inside. Jack's heart pounded in his chest. Was this some kind of test dummy? A mannequin used for crash testing? Cautiously, he approached the chamber. There was another panel beside it with more of the strange symbols. Without thinking, he pressed the largest button. The chamber's glass wall slid open with another hiss of escaping air. The mist cleared, and Jack gasped. Inside was a woman, at least, she looked almost like a woman. Her skin was a pale blue color, and her long silver hair floated around her face as if suspended in water. She wore a form-fitting suit of some shimmering material. Her eyes were closed, and she didn't appear to be breathing. "Oh my God," Jack whispered. "Is she dead?" As if in response to his voice, the woman's eyes snapped open. They were a brilliant purple with no visible pupils. She stared directly at Jack, then sat up with startling speed. Jack stumbled backward, tripping over his own feet and falling hard onto the floor of the workshop. The woman gracefully stepped out of the chamber and stood over him, observing him with obvious curiosity. "You are not what I expected," she said in perfect English, though her voice had a strange musical quality to it. You can talk." Jack stammered. "Of course I can talk," she replied. "I have been learning your languages while in stasis. Are you the one who purchased my vessel?" Jack nodded, unable to form words. "Then according to the customs of my people, you are now my husband," she stated matter-of-factly. "I am Zara, third daughter of the royal house of Athalos." "And you are?" Jack's mouth opened and closed several times before he managed to speak. "I'm Jack. Jack Miller. And I'm pretty sure I didn't sign up to marry anyone." Zara tilted her head slightly. "Your bid on my ship was accepted. On my world, this constitutes a binding marriage contract. Was this not explained in the terms of your purchase?" Jack thought back to the auction listing. There had been no mention of an alien bride included with the spacecraft. "No," he said weakly. "That definitely wasn't in the description." Zara frowned. "How strange. Well, it is done now. We are bound by law." She looked around the workshop with obvious disappointment. "Is this where we are to live? It seems primitive." Jack stared at her, his mind racing to catch up with this impossible situation. He had spent his life savings on what he thought was a derelict spacecraft. Instead, he had accidentally married an alien princess. And from the look of the blinking red light that had just started flashing on Zara's wrist device, their problems were only beginning. Jack stared at the blinking red light on Zara's wrist device. "What is that? What's happening?" "It seems our bonding has activated the tracking beacon," Zara said calmly, tapping the device with her long blue fingers. "My family will know I am awake and bonded." Tracking beacon. Family. Jack ran his hands through his hair. "Look, there's been a huge mistake. I didn't buy a wife. I thought I was buying a damaged spacecraft for parts." Zara looked genuinely confused. "The vessel and I are one purchase. This is how it has always been done." She walked around the workshop, examining the primitive tools hanging on the walls. Your world is far less advanced than I expected. The cultural exchange files must be outdated. Jack couldn't stop staring at her. In the better light of the main workshop, he could see that her blue skin had a subtle shimmer to it, and what he had thought was silver hair actually changed colors slightly as she moved, like the surface of a soap bubble. So you're not human, he said, stating the obvious. Zara looked amused. I am Athelian. My people have been observing Earth for centuries. She picked up a wrench, examined it, and set it down. We normally select mates from worlds with comparable technology, but occasionally we find individuals of exceptional potential on developing planets. And someone thought I had exceptional potential? Jack asked, bewildered. The selection is not random, she replied. Your genetic profile, problem-solving abilities, and adaptability were all factors. She frowned slightly. Though I expected more impressive accommodations. Jack felt a flash of defensiveness. Sorry, my accommodations don't meet your royal standards. Some of us have to work for a living instead of floating around in space pods waiting for someone to buy us. I was not waiting to be bought, Zara snapped, her purple eyes flashing. I was escaping a political situation. The marriage auction was the only legal way for me to leave my planet without causing a diplomatic incident. Before Jack could respond, a loud beeping came from inside the spacecraft. Zara rushed back inside with Jack following cautiously behind. She pressed several controls on what appeared to be the main console. A three-dimensional image appeared above it, a map of stars with a blinking dot moving toward a larger dot that must represent Earth. What is that? Jack asked, momentarily forgetting their argument. A ship, Zara said, her voice tense. Moving very fast toward this planet. They must have detected my awakening. Who are they? Possibly my family's security forces, she said, working quickly at the controls. Or possibly the Korvax. The what now? The Korvax. A rival house that would benefit greatly from capturing a daughter of Athelos. She turned to face him, suddenly serious. If it is them, we are both in danger. They will not hesitate to eliminate a bondmate. Jack felt his stomach drop. Eliminate? As in kill? All because of an online auction I didn't even understand. The auction was not an accident, Zara insisted. You were chosen. But now we must prepare. If it is my family coming, I will need to explain my choice. If it is the Korvax. Her voice trailed off. What happens if it's these Korvax people? Jack pressed. Then we run, she said simply. Or fight. Jack laughed nervously. Fight? With what? I have a socket wrench and some WD-40. They have spaceships. Zara's expression became thoughtful. She walked back to the stasis chamber and pressed a sequence on its panel. A compartment opened in the wall, revealing what looked distinctly like weapons, sleek, silver devices with glowing blue elements. My personal defense equipment, she explained, lifting one of the smaller devices. This will temporarily disable most technology within a 100-meter radius. An EMP? Jack asked, recognizing the concept if not the advanced design. Zara looked impressed. Similar, yes. More targeted. She handed him a larger weapon. And this fires concentrated plasma bursts. Lethal to most species. Jack held the weapon awkwardly. I've never shot anyone before. Hopefully you won't need to, Zara said. But the Korvax will not hesitate. Jack set the weapon down. This is insane. Yesterday I was just a mechanic with money problems. Now I'm married to an alien princess and might have to fight off space invaders. You are adaptable, Zara said with what almost seemed like admiration. This is why you were selected. Selected by who? Jack demanded. Who set this whole thing up? Before Zara could answer, her wrist device began blinking more rapidly. She checked it and her face paled to a lighter blue. "We don't have time for explanations now," she said urgently. "The ship will enter Earth's atmosphere in less than an hour. We need to make a decision, stay and confront them, or take my vessel and run." "Can your ship even fly?" Jack asked. "The auction said it was damaged." "Minor damage only," Zara explained. "The cloaking system is non-functional, and the quantum drive needs recalibration. But the atmospheric thrusters work fine." Jack tried to process everything. "So we could actually leave Earth? Just like that?" "Yes," Zara confirmed. "Though without the quantum drive fully operational, we would be limited to this solar system." Jack walked to the workshop door and looked out at the night sky. Stars twinkled peacefully, giving no hint of the alien ship supposedly heading their way. Was any of this real? Had he finally cracked under the financial pressure? But the cold weight of the alien weapon in his hand felt real enough. And Zara, there was no way his imagination could have created someone like her. "How long would the repairs take?" he asked, turning back to her. Zara considered the question. "With proper tools and materials, several days. With what you have here?" She looked around the workshop doubtfully. "Hey, I can fix anything with an engine," Jack said defensively. "Maybe your people chose better than you think." For the first time, Zara smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. "Perhaps they did." She joined him at the door, looking up at the sky. "We have little time. The ship will be here soon. If it is the Korvax, they will likely land away from populated areas and approach on foot to avoid detection by your world's authorities." "And if it's your family?" Jack asked. "Then they will expect to meet my bondmate," she said, giving him an appraising look. "You will need cleaner clothes." Jack looked down at his oil-stained jeans and t-shirt. "Sorry, I didn't pack my meet the alien in-laws outfit." Zara didn't seem to catch the sarcasm. "It is unfortunate. First impressions are important in royal protocols." Jack was about to reply when a flash of light in the sky caught his attention. A streak of fire, too fast and too straight to be a shooting star, was cutting across the night. "Is that," he began. "Yes," Zara interrupted, her voice tight. "They're here." The fiery object disappeared behind the hills several miles from Jack's workshop. The ground trembled slightly a moment later. "They've landed," Zara said, grabbing his arm. "We must prepare quickly." Jack looked at the alien woman who was apparently now his wife, at the otherworldly ship in his workshop, and at the weapon in his hand. His ordinary life had vanished in less than a day. "Who are they?" he asked quietly. "How do we know if they're friendly?" Zara's purple eyes met his, deadly serious. "We'll know very soon. But regardless of who has come, your life has changed forever, Jack Miller." She picked up one of the weapons. "Now, let me show you how this works before they find us." "Hold it like this," Zara instructed, adjusting Jack's grip on the plasma weapon. "Aim by aligning your eye with this sensor. It will help guide your shot." Jack awkwardly positioned the alien gun as directed. It was lighter than it looked and seemed to hum slightly in his hands. "And this won't, blow up in my face. The weapon has safety protocols. It recognizes your biosignature now as an authorized user." Zara glanced nervously at the workshop door. "We have perhaps 15 minutes before they reach us, assuming they track my beacon precisely." Jack took a deep breath. "Okay, so what's the plan? We can't just shoot whoever shows up. What if it's your family?" "If it's my family, they will approach openly," Zara explained. "They will announce themselves and demand to meet my bondmate. If it's the Korvax, they will try to surround us silently and strike without warning." Jack nodded, trying to look more confident than he felt. "We should get your ship ready, just in case we need to make a quick exit." Zara looked surprised. "You wish to assist with my vessel?" "Well, yeah. You said it needs repairs, and that's kind of my thing. He set down the weapon and walked toward the spacecraft. Show me what's broken. For the next 10 minutes, Zara guided Jack through the basic systems of her ship. Despite its advanced technology, many principles were familiar to him: propulsion, navigation, life support. The terminology was different, but Jack's mechanical instincts helped him grasp the concepts quickly. The primary issue is here, Zara explained, pointing to a panel of crystal-like components. The quantum alignment matrix was damaged during my emergency landing. Without it, we cannot achieve faster-than-light travel. Jack studied the components. These crystals look cracked. Can they be replaced? Yes, but with specific materials not found on Earth, Zara said with a frown. Maybe not exactly, Jack mused, but I wonder. He hurried to a cabinet in his workshop and returned with a small box. Inside were various electronic components he had salvaged from old devices. He held up a quartz crystal oscillator. Would something like this work as a temporary fix? We could adjust the frequency to match what you need. Zara took the crystal, examining it with obvious surprise. This is primitive, but the crystalline structure is similar. It might stabilize the matrix enough for short jumps. She looked at Jack with new respect. You understand more than I expected. I told you, fixing things is what I do, Jack said with a hint of pride. Let me grab some tools, Anne. He was interrupted by a soft beeping from Zara's wrist device. Her expression tightened. They're close now. Less than half a kilometer away. Jack grabbed the plasma weapon again. What do we do? We must determine who they are first. Zara activated something on her wrist that projected a small holographic display. My sensors detect 4 life forms approaching from the north. Their movement pattern is. She paused, her face darkening. They're spreading out to surround the building. It's the Korvax. Jack's heart raced. How do you know? My family would approach directly. This is a tactical formation. She deactivated the hologram. We have 2 options, fight or flee. Can we get your ship working in time? Zara shook her head. Not fully repaired, no. But we might manage a short atmospheric flight to escape this area. Jack thought quickly. His workshop was on the outskirts of town, with woods behind it. If we can make it to the forest, we might lose them long enough to figure out a better plan. They will have thermal tracking, Zara countered. Not if we use this. Jack rushed to a shelf and grabbed a silver emergency blanket. It reflects heat. Might confuse their sensors long enough for us to get away. Zara nodded, impressed again by his quick thinking. There is a rear exit. Small window in the bathroom. It'll be tight, but we can squeeze through. They gathered what they could, the weapons, Jack's tools, and a small bag of supplies Zara retrieved from her ship. As they prepared to leave, Jack hesitated. Wait. Let me set up something for our visitors. He grabbed several containers of chemicals from his workshop supplies and quickly mixed them in a large bucket. Old mechanic's trick. When these combine, they'll create a lot of smoke, non-toxic, but thick enough to reduce visibility. A diversion, Zara said with approval. You are resourceful. Let's just hope it works. Jack positioned the bucket near the front door, rigging a simple trip wire. This should buy us a few extra seconds. They made their way to the bathroom at the rear of the workshop. Jack pushed open the small window and helped Zara climb through first. As she emerged outside, he heard a crash from the front of the building. They're in, he whispered, quickly squeezing through the window himself. They crouched behind the workshop, covered by the emergency blanket. Moments later, shouts of confusion erupted from inside. His smoke trap had worked. Now, Zara whispered, and they ran for the tree lean, staying low. They had just reached the cover of the forest when a beam of blue light sliced through the night, hitting a tree near them and turning it instantly to ash. Keep moving, Zara urged, pulling Jack deeper into the woods. They ran until Jack's lungs burned, finally stopping in a small clearing. He collapsed against a tree trunk, gasping for breath. "Those are some serious weapons," he panted. "That tree just vaporized." "Korvax plasma disruptors," Zara confirmed. "They're not trying to capture us alive." "Great," Jack muttered. "So much for my peaceful life as a mechanic." Zara knelt beside him, her expression softening. "You've handled this remarkably well. Most humans would be incapacitated by fear by now." Jack laughed weakly. "Oh, I'm plenty scared. But panicking won't help us survive." "That is precisely why you were chosen," Zara said quietly. "You keep saying that." "Chosen by who?" Zara hesitated, then sighed. "My mother. The Queen of Athelos. I was to be married to the son of a rival house to secure a peace treaty. I refused. So you ran away," Jack realized. "And ended up here." "Yes. My mother's advisor helped me escape using the bonding auction. It's an ancient tradition, normally used for cultural exchange marriages. He arranged for your genetic profile to be matched with mine as compatible." "Compatible for what?" "For producing offspring with desirable traits," Zara said matter-of-factly. "Intelligence, adaptability, resilience. Your species has remarkable genetic potential." Jack stared at her. "So this whole thing was arranged? You picked me specifically?" "Not personally," Zara clarified. "The matching algorithm did. But yes, you were selected from thousands of candidates." She looked away. "I did not expect to actually meet you. The plan was for me to use the marriage as legal protection and then continue my journey. But then the Korvax found us," Jack said. "Yes. They must have been tracking me all along." She looked at him apologetically. "I've brought danger to your world." "To you." Jack was silent for a moment, processing everything. Finally, he stood up. "Well, we can't stay here. Those Korvax guys will find us eventually with their fancy tech." "You're right," Zara agreed, rising to her feet. "We need to repair my ship and leave before they call for reinforcements." "Leave Earth?" Jack asked, the reality of the situation hitting him again. "It's the only way to ensure your safety now," Zara said. "The Korvax know your face. They won't stop hunting you, even if I'm gone." A twig snapped nearby. They both froze. "We need to move," Zara whispered. "There's a small settlement 3 kilometers east, according to my scans. We might find materials there to help repair the ship." Jack nodded, his mind racing with plans. "I have a friend who owns a junkyard. He might have the parts we need." As they prepared to move again, Jack realized something had changed between them. They were no longer captor and captive, alien and human, but reluctant allies with a common enemy. "Zara," he whispered as they crept through the forest. "If we get through this, what happens with us? This marriage thing?" She glanced at him, her purple eyes reflecting the moonlight. "First, we survive. Then, we decide." Behind them, the glow of more plasma weapons lit up the night as their pursuers entered the forest. Dawn broke over the junkyard as Jack and Zara worked frantically on the components they'd gathered. They had reached Mike's salvage yard after hours of evading the Korvax through the forest. Thankfully, Mike was away on a buying trip, sparing Jack the impossible explanation of his blue-skinned companion. "Pass me that transistor array," Jack said, wiping sweat from his forehead. He had been working non-stop since they arrived, adapting Earth technology to repair Zara's ship. Zara handed him the modified circuit board. "The Korvax will have called for reinforcements by now. Their main ship could arrive within hours." "Then we better work faster," Jack replied, carefully connecting the makeshift component to the crystal matrix they had recovered from his workshop. They had snuck back at first light, finding the building ransacked but the spacecraft untouched, apparently the Korvax couldn't move it without alerting authorities. Your adaptation is impressive, Zara admitted, watching Jack's hands work with practiced precision. My people would never consider using such primitive materials to repair quantum technology. Jack smiled despite their dire situation. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best. In my line of work, you learn to improvise. He connected the final wire, and the crystal matrix hummed to life, glowing with a soft blue light. There. Not pretty, but it should hold long enough for a short jump. Zara's eyes widened. You actually did it. There was newfound respect in her voice. Told you I can fix anything with an engine, Jack said with a hint of pride. Now we just need to get this back to your ship without getting vaporized. Zara checked her wrist device. I'm detecting Korvax energy signatures converging on this location. They must have tracked us here. Jack grabbed the repaired matrix and their weapons. Out the back. I have an idea. They slipped out through the rear gate of the junkyard where an old pickup truck sat partially hidden under a tarp. Jack quickly hot-wired it. This vehicle seems unsafe, Zara observed as the engine sputtered to life. Beggars can't be choosers, Jack replied, gesturing for her to get in. Besides, they'll be looking for people on foot, not in a truck. As they pulled onto the dirt road leading back toward his workshop, Jack outlined his plan. The Korvax have better technology, but we have the home field advantage. They don't know this terrain like I do. What are you proposing? Zara asked. A trap, Jack said grimly. Using their overconfidence against them. When they reached the workshop, they parked the truck behind a neighboring abandoned building. Jack took a moment to survey the area through binoculars. 2 Korvax guards at the front, probably more inside, he reported. They're waiting for us to come back for the ship. We cannot defeat them with direct confrontation, Zara warned. Their armor repels most energy weapons. We don't need to beat them in a fight, Jack said. We just need to distract them long enough to get to your ship. He pointed to several large propane tanks stored behind his workshop. And those are going to help us. Working quickly, Jack explained his plan as they gathered supplies from the truck. Using his knowledge of the workshop's layout and the surrounding area, he created a series of diversions that would trigger in sequence. Humans truly are resourceful, Zara remarked as they finished the preparations. My people rely too heavily on technology. We've forgotten how to improvise. Being the underdog has its advantages, Jack replied. Ready? Zara nodded, gripping her weapon tightly. Jack triggered the first diversion, a remote-controlled toy car with firecrackers strapped to it. It sped across the open yard in front of the workshop, the exploding firecrackers drawing the attention of the Korvax guards. As they moved to investigate, Jack triggered the second diversion, a chain reaction of small explosions near the propane tanks. The Korvax fell for the trap, rushing to what they perceived as the greater threat. In the confusion, Jack and Zara slipped into the workshop through the bathroom window they had escaped from earlier. Inside, they found 2 more Korvax searching the spacecraft. Jack nodded to Zara, who activated the EMP device. The pulse temporarily disabled the aliens' weapons and communication systems. Before they could recover, Jack used a heavy wrench to knock one unconscious while Zara disabled the other with a precise strike. Nice hit, Jack commented as they rushed to the spacecraft. Royal combat training, Zara explained, helping him drag the unconscious aliens away from the ship. We have minutes at most before the others return. They quickly installed the repaired quantum matrix into the ship's engine compartment. As Jack made the final connections, the workshop door burst open. 3 more Korvax stormed in, weapons drawn. Get down! Zara shouted, pushing Jack behind the spacecraft's hull as plasma beams sliced through the air. Jack finished the connection while staying low. It's in. Power it up. Zara reached for the control panel, but a plasma shot hit dangerously close, forcing her back. They were pinned down, unable to reach the ship's cockpit. "We need a distraction," Zara said, her voice tense. Jack looked around frantically, spotting a can of brake cleaner and his welding torch. "Cover me." While Zara fired back at the Korvax, forcing them to take cover, Jack quickly assembled his makeshift flamethrower. With one decisive move, he sprayed the aerosol toward the ceiling and ignited it with the torch. A massive fireball erupted, setting off the workshop sprinkler system and filling the space with steam and smoke. In the confusion, they made a dash for the cockpit. Zara slid into the pilot's seat with Jack right behind her. Her hands flew over the controls, and the ship hummed to life. "They're coming," Jack warned as shadows moved through the smoke. "Hold on," Zara called, activating the thrusters. The spacecraft lifted off, crashing through the workshop's roof. The Korvax fired desperately at them, but the ship's hull deflected their shots as it soared into the sky. Jack gripped his seat as Earth fell away beneath them. "Did we make it?" Zara checked the instruments. "The matrix is holding. We can make one jump before it fails." She looked at him seriously. "I can drop you somewhere on your planet first, if you wish to stay." Jack looked back at the rapidly shrinking landscape below. His workshop was now just a smoking speck. The life he had known was gone. "There's nothing left for me here," he said quietly. "And those Korvax guys will keep coming, right?" "Yes," Zara confirmed. "They will never stop hunting us now." Jack took a deep breath. "Then I guess we're in this together." He glanced at her. "So, where to, wife?" For the first time, Zara smiled fully, a radiant expression that transformed her alien features. "I know a trading post in the Andromeda galaxy where we can properly repair the ship. And perhaps find allies against the Korvax." "Andromeda," Jack repeated, the word feeling surreal on his tongue. "I always wanted to travel, but this is a bit farther than I had in mind." As the Earth's atmosphere gave way to the star-filled blackness of space, Zara reached over and squeezed his hand. Her touch was warm, not cold as he had expected. "You have shown more courage and ingenuity than many warriors of my world," she said sincerely. "Perhaps the matching algorithm was wiser than I gave it credit for." Jack smiled, watching his home planet grow smaller in the viewscreen. "Maybe this accidental marriage won't be so bad after all." "Perhaps not," Zara agreed, programming their jump coordinates. "Ready for our first adventure as a bonded pair?" Jack nodded, feeling strangely calm despite everything. "Ready as I'll ever be." The stars around them seemed to stretch as the quantum drive engaged. In a flash of brilliant light, Earth vanished behind them. Ahead lay the unknown, and a new life that neither of them had planned, but both were now ready to explore together. The ordinary mechanic and the alien princess had become unlikely allies, then reluctant partners, and now, perhaps, something more. Whatever challenges awaited them among the stars, they would face them together, human ingenuity paired with alien technology, each bringing their unique strengths to their unexpected bond. As the ship hurtled through the quantum tunnel, Jack realized that sometimes the greatest adventures begin with the strangest accidents. And sometimes, the perfect match is found in the most improbable places, even in a mysterious online auction for a supposedly damaged spacecraft.